Hello there, this is a really serious GCSE explainer today. It's on the impact of food insecurity. Okay, so just a little reminder, food insecurity, it's being without reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable, nutritious food. Remember, we've got that stat there, more than 800 million people live every day with hunger or food insecurity. And it's a major concern for many countries, and as we've seen, it's particularly countries with lower incomes such as parts of Asia and parts of sub-Saharan Africa, and it has major impacts on people personally and on the ability of a country to lift itself out of poverty. And the impacts that we're going to consider are famine, undernutrition, soil erosion, rising prices and social unrest or social conflict. Okay, so just a little reminder, there's a map there from the World Food Programme from the United Nations, and you can see there the blue countries are very low undernourishment, so you can see there across wide parts of Western Europe and North America, very low undernourishment, and there's that sub-Saharan African belt of countries. Some countries have moderately low food insecurity, but others, places like Chad, Central African Republic, down into Zambia and Uganda, Madagascar, they have very high levels of undernourishment, and really on planet Earth today there's enough food available and technology available to resolve these issues. So undernutrition occurs when people do not eat enough calories or get enough nutrients to cover their needs for energy and growth, or to maintain a healthy immune system. And that's a direct result of food insecurity in many countries and regions. And then hunger is chronic or severe undernourishment. Okay, and you can see a scale there from overnourished through to well-nourished, undernourished or hungry, and then right at the bottom of the scale you've got famine. Okay, so just a little quote there: people who are chronically hungry are undernourished. They don't eat enough to get the energy they need to lead active lives. Their undernourishment makes it hard to study, work or otherwise perform physical activities. Undernourishment is particularly harmful for women and children. Undernourished children do not grow as quickly as healthy children. Mentally, they may develop more slowly. Constant hunger weakens the immune system and makes them more vulnerable to diseases and infections. Mothers living with constant hunger often give birth to underweight and weak babies and are themselves facing increased risk of death. Every day, millions of people around the world eat only the bare minimum of food to keep themselves alive, and that should deeply trouble you when you're reading that. Okay, famine's a different problem. People basically don't have enough food to survive when there's a famine. So in worst cases, it can lead to starvation and even death. Another consequence of food insecurity is that people damage the soil. So soil's really important, and I know it's a really boring thing, and you probably never even thought about it, but soil erosion, soil's where everything grows. So without soil, there's no food. Soil, and it takes a long time to form. Soil erosion is the removal of the topsoil faster than the soil forming processes can replace it. Okay, and it's a mix of these three activities down here. So during times of food insecurity, farmers can cause soil erosion by breeding and rearing too many cattle, or by trying to grow too many crops. So the three common causes: overgrazing, that's keeping animals at numbers higher than the environment can support. So you can imagine herds and herds of cattle. They're very heavy. They trample the soil. They eat all the vegetation on the top, and then when it rains on the top of that soil, it washes it all away. Deforestation and the removal of forest cover. You can see that there. Okay. The trees and the shrubs act as a protective layer against the rain falling on the soil. Once they're removed, that soil can be washed away as well. Then overcultivation, that's just basically trying to overfarm the land, trying to get too many plants out of the land than it can support. That means the soil never rests. It removes vital nutrients from the soil, and it can slowly die. Okay. Another consequence is rise in food prices. So, this is basic law of supply and demand. When the demand is higher than the supply, the prices of food go up. There are more people on planet Earth. There's more of us wanting a rich person's diet with lots of meat and dairy and things like that. any poor harvests would push the price up as well. And you can see there for all food prices between 2020 and 2015, prices go upwards. And the last one is social unrest or conflict. You know, it could be violent conflict, or it could be protests, it could be things like that. When food's in short supply, people go a bit crazy, and we've seen that with COVID-19. At the start of the COVID-19 lockdown, when people weren't allowed out as regularly as possible, people were literally emptying the supermarket shelves of food. So this is not an exclusive thing to poorer countries. This can happen anywhere. During 2007 to 2008, there was a rise in global food prices, which led to riots in various countries. Prices of food went up because of the use of farmland for biofuel, increased fuel prices, unfair global competition, more population, and failed harvests. So an example from that time period was that in Burkina Faso, in West Africa, rioting broke out in the country's second and third largest cities. Okay. So, you know, imagine the food went up by 65%. So I don't know, if you have a loaf of bread that costs you £1 one day, the next day you go and pay £1.65. So over 100 people were arrested in one of the towns. So social unrest is another consequence of food insecurity. In terms of tasks, you've got a percentage change task to do. Okay, so you just calculate the difference. So you'll take 2015, 164 and subtract 91.1. That'll give you the difference there. Then you'll take the difference, so that's that square there, and divide by the 2000 value, which is that one there. That'll give you a number in there. And then take that number and multiply by 100, and that will give you the percentage change. What does that show you about the change in price for the food? What impact does that have on food security? And there's some sentence starters to get you going there. And then I'll put the answers on. I forgot I'd done that. So if you're struggling, go back to the answers. And then there's you can have a look at this web page here from the BBC, all about undernourishment in the Horn of Africa. If you're a bit sensitive over you know, images of children not very well, I would maybe not bother watching that. And then you've got a flowchart map to do. Okay, so explaining using these three factors how deforestation leads to soil erosion and what that would do to food supply, what overgrazing does for soil erosion, and what overcultivation does for soil erosion. Okay, and there's another video on social unrest there if you want to see it. That's Venezuela. And then a little review there for the famine and undernutrition. Okay, so as usual, there's a worksheet that goes with that, with gaps in there. You can just type straight in the boxes, or tap on the where it says click or tap here for the text. You can look at the web page as well. Cool Geography's Food Insecurity. And that's pretty much it. But I've got a little dad joke for you just to finish. Where do you get an Indian sandwich? At the New Delhi. See you later.